Hello, and welcome to 12-Minute Meditation, a weekly podcast from mindful and mindful.org that offers mindfulness meditations backed by neuroscience. If you've been practicing, you know that 12 minutes of meditation a day can yield benefits like increased attention, focus, creativity, calm, resilience, and compassion. The latest scientific research supports this knowledge. So, on this podcast, we invite you to do your 12-minute practice with guided meditations from today's leading mindfulness experts. There's a new practice each week and a new way to experience some of those benefits day to day. I'm Chelsea Arsenal, Director of Advertising at mindful.org, and this week Tovi Scruggs-Hussein invites us on a transformative journey through mindfulness aimed at racial healing and understanding our deep-seated biases. Through her guided meditation, we delve into the roots of implicit biases, those carefully taught lessons of childhood that subtly shape our attitudes and behaviors towards others. Tovi's approach fosters an environment of introspection and forgiveness, encouraging us to reflect on those ingrained prejudices and the impact they have on our interactions and societal structures. As we engage in this practice, Tovi guides us to recognize and interrupt these biases, using mindfulness as a tool for both personal and communal healing. This session is an opportunity to explore the ways in which our biases were formed and to courageously confront and transform them. By understanding and addressing these biases, we open pathways to empathy, fostering a deeper human connection and a shared commitment to creating a society free from the distortions of prejudice. Tovi was named one of the powerful women of mindfulness movement in 2021. From keynotes to workshops to in-depth leadership development, Tovi works as a coach to support conscious, connected, and courageous leaders. This meditation is a key part of our racial healing series, guided by Tovi. The series offers a space for reflection, vulnerability, and learning, aimed at dismantling racism through emotional intelligence and cultural humility. Each session, including today's, builds on mindfulness techniques to explore race and racism, fostering deep, systemic change through personal and collective healing. Join us as we navigate these critical topics with compassion and awareness, striving for a more inclusive and healed society. You can subscribe to 12-Minute Meditation while you're on mindful.org or wherever you find your favorite podcast. And if you're moved to leave us a review, we'd be grateful. And so will other listeners. See, your review helps them to decide whether 12-minute meditation is for them. But for now, for you, here's Tovi Scruggs-Hussein.
I offer to you that before engaging in a meditation where we absolutely sit with the guidance of my voice, that we begin by listening to a beautiful song sung by Billy Porter and India Ari. The song is called Carefully Taught, and it's about 4.5 minutes. So if you choose, I invite you to play that song and then to engage in this meditation. So we want to allow ourselves to sit comfortably, being reverently alert and closing our eyes or gazing down, and then taking 3 deep breaths at a pace that feels good for you. And after those deep breaths, allowing your breath to settle at a rhythm that feels restorative and relaxing. Generally, this means we may slow our breathing down and bring our breathing more fully down into our stomach area. Let's try that together for a few moments. And as we start to explore our own bias and to support our healing from our bias, I invite you to think about your own childhood and how you may have been carefully taught. What bias were you taught as a child? I remember being a third grader, playing on the playground, and I was really athletic. And because of my athleticism, I was able to play with the fifth graders. And I remember playing with this one particular white fifth grade girl. And I don't remember what brought on the fullness of the conversation, but she said to me while we were playing, "Tovi, I don't like Black people, but I like you." She was in fifth grade. "Tovi, I don't like Black people, but I like you." And me being in third grade and wanting to be liked and enjoying that I could play with the older kids, I took that as a compliment. And that day, later, my mother would pick me up from school, and I excitedly told her the story of playing with the fifth grader and what she had told me. Mommy, she really liked me, and she said she didn't like Black people, but she liked me." And my mother looked at me and got very serious. And she said, "Mija, that's not a compliment." And my smile went away. And in my confusion, I said, "Why, Mama? Why not?" And she went on to explain to me why it was not a compliment. How does a fifth grader know to say that? And I would sit with this wondering. And there I was in third grade, and my conversations about a divisive world, race, and bias had already begun. I too was being carefully taught. there we were, maybe at 6, 7, or 8, to hate all the people our relatives hate. And so again, I ask, how were you carefully taught? And let us just sit and be with what arises. And as we think about our own conditioning, where we learned some of the bias and practice that arises in us now, generations and decades later, can we trace it back to when the seed was planted so that we can unearth that seed in us? And as we explore our bias with both compassion and self-compassion, I invite in forgiveness. Can we forgive who taught us this bias? Can we forgive who shaped our conditioning? Because more often than not, we love them. And it is okay to love them. They too were carefully taught. And then went on to teach us what they had been taught. So we let them know, I forgive you for misteaching me. They are products of this society just like we are. And that is compassion. There is compassion in our forgiveness. And can we bring ourselves to self-compassion and self-forgiveness for the times that we acted on this bias, for even holding the bias? But now we know better, and we can be better, and we can do better. And when we think about self-compassion, I love to think about what Kristen Neff says, that self-compassion is like talking to ourselves the way we would talk to someone that we love. When you speak to yourself like someone you love about your own bias, what do you say to yourself? Let it be okay to forgive yourself and love yourself in spite of your bias. Let it go. There are no villains. We are all here experiencing our own evolution and healing for the transformation of a better humanity. There are no villains. Let us take a deep breath on that. And as we start to come out of this meditation into our present awareness, let us make a commitment to interrupt our bias. That we acknowledge that knowing it gives us power. The self-awareness of knowing what our bias is an empowering act of courage. And we become even more courageous that when we feel it arising in us, we take that pause and we interrupt it. We don't act on it. The bias in and of itself is not harmful. Acting on it creates the harm. So we interrupt acting on it. And that is our commitment to a better humanity. That is our commitment to our own self-healing and self-transformation for systemic transformation. Breathe that in. Thank you for sitting with me.
Thank you for joining us for this episode, a 12-minute meditation from Mindful and mindful.org. I hope you enjoyed practicing with us today. We'll be back in 7 days with another meditation practice to enrich your journey. In the meantime, stay connected by signing up for our free newsletter at mindful.org/sign up for compelling insights and actionable ideas to enrich your everyday life. That's mindful.org/SIGNUP.